attention. Devils hide behind redemption. Honesty is a one-way gate to hell. I wanna taste consumption. Breathe faster to waste oxygen. Hear the children sing aloud. It's music till the wick burns out.
Hello everybody, and welcome back to Solo Score Rush. After a bit of a half an hour break, we're finally getting into this next match in the round of 32. I will be your commentator Zeno, and we will be seeing Mini Egg versus the Bee. A bit of a closer matchup. I believe this is the winner's bracket as well, so potentially we could see a very exciting match. Both players might have joined now. I'm not too sure. We just have to kind of wait and see. Okay, looks like we'll be seeing both players. I'm very interested to see how both these players would do. I mean, I feel like Mini Egg, over like the past year, they've been really improving a lot at this game, so I'm very excited to see how they will play, especially in the Ellen department. I mean, I've seen some of their scores outside of SSR. I mean, even within SSR, they've been putting up some really good scores. They've been really starting to show some dominance within that Ellen field, which of course will transfer over to the hybrid side a little bit. But as we wait, I guess you could maybe put some predictions. See if the B has played in any matches. I'm not too sure. They are a bit of an unfamiliar face, at least when it comes to me. So it's definitely a welcome surprise to see someone that I don't recommend. But let's see. We are in the roll phase though. Nothing too much happening right now. Just mostly waiting to see what both these players' strategies will be. And especially in a match like this one, strategy is going to be key if you want to be able to get those points. Or I guess that extra scoring. But it looks like the B will be picking first, and Mini Egg will be protecting first. Or sorry, banning first. Looks like we'll be seeing Rice 5 bans. I think a bit of an understandable choice. I mean, especially when it just comes to these types of matches. I mean, you warm up, you're prepared for a certain amount of difficulty, and even just a little bit of that difficulty fluctuation going up just a little bit can make it just a little bit harder to kind of play consistently. It looks like the B, not having played at all yet, they did get a win by default for a round of 52, and they were able to skip playoffs. So we're going to be seeing a completely fresh player coming in this round. And it looks like we'll be seeing Ellen 1 being banned, which I think makes sense. Ellen 1 has been the target of bans just because of how awkward it is, especially with those staggered releases in the middle. I mean, it's so easy to drop grades on them if you aren't proficient at Ellen. And even if you are proficient at Ellen, like that middle section, you have to be able to play it good and consistently. And that's so hard, especially for staggered releases. Not so much in the second half, which is so much harder as well. Just because you're managing so much, and you don't even have that, like, the mini shields. But we are getting into the first pick, which is going to be the B's pick, given that they won the roll. And it'd be interesting to see what they go for. I mean, we see them ban in Ellen, so I have to assume we're not going to see any Ellen on their side. Potentially one of these Rices. I would maybe go as far to say, though, that maybe the B wants to avoid those top Rice picks, Rice 1, Rice 2. I mean, Mini Egg's been shown to stay very consistent. At least if they are going for that Rice section, I think those are the two choices they should leave. but we'll see. I mean, Rice 3, Rice 4, I think they're all equally as risky, but I think maybe Rice 4 might be a good opening, but we'll see Rice 1, our speed pick. Bit of a technical street pick. Here we go, going into Exile. I'm very interested to see how both these players perform. I feel like with a pick like this one, it might show how something like Rice 2 might go. Just because of the kind of raw skill nature of speed and street picks. But we will have to wait on the performance though. We are having some technical issues with the laser client, so do give us a moment of fixing that. But I guess while we're at that, we can look over at qualifiers to kind of see how Tabi has been doing. Because, I mean, that really is our only information that we can go off of. So just give me 1 second. I mean, we do obviously know that to be student 23rd, but we will get the gameplay here, thankfully. And this start very simple. I mean, it's like 184, 180-ish, 170-ish. Well, I don't remember the BP exactly, but it is very, very slow jump stream. I mean, you see these jumps going in. And this is where we're going to see the density pick up just a little bit. This part should be fairly fine for both players. Miniac just destroying this early section. Maybe reminiscent of what we'll see in these later sections. We'll only have to wait and see. But here we go, as we start to see these speed sections, the kind of trickiness of trying to transition from these mini jacks all the way to the other side of the column. It's going to be very hard to stay consistent, and I wouldn't be surprised if either player just drops a grade, because it's so easy to even just miss, like with these mini jacks, like especially when they're in like the inner columns and they're moving to the opposite side. And to be tripping up, I think close to one of those sections as well, really is starting to show the difficulty of the speed sections, because you expect maybe most stream sections, they're slightly mini jacky at times, but this one doesn't really play that role in a traditional sense. It plays very rolly in the fact that you're tuning a mini jack. Mind bugging a little bit, but ending this section of the stream, Miniac still with a very, very high score. I mean, the amount of finger independency required to hold good accuracy on this is very, very much needed, especially coming from an Ellen player. Well, a player who's been starting to grow in terms of Ellen. I think it makes sense. Miniac starting to show a lot of capability on a pick like this one. But as we do against this final section, there isn't really much that the beat can really do, especially with just how much trickier these sections get. And we see them drop a little bit, but they're able to hold that combo. Miniac with a very, very high score, being able to gain just a little bit of a cushion in terms of the match. Definitely going to be a much needed one, considering that these seeds are a bit on the closer side. But I mean, it is Miniac's pick, and they're going to pick what's pick. But looks like we'll be seeing our next picks, which I think makes sense. Probably one of the quote-unquote easier elements to put good accuracy on. There's still a lot of just hold strain and coordination littered within this pick. Doesn't really play like your typical Ellen density pick, so it definitely can be a little bit harder for players to score high on this one. It just really requires a lot of just those Ellen fundamentals being in check. But we'll see how both players do. I mean, given that to be banned one of the LNs, this is probably not going to be that good of a pick, at least on their side. Here we go, starting slowly. We're gonna see a few of these first, which could maybe trip up both these players when transitioning. And this is where you really start to see that coordination aspect shine just a little bit. Of course, you do have the typical LNZC patterns, but some of those 3-0 patterns, even if they don't look that bad, they can be very easy to trip up on. Especially given that sometimes these releases kind of just like almost act as like a staggered release. It can be just a little bit harder to hold good accuracy, especially given that the BPM is a bit on the lower side, so those releases are definitely going to be a lot more spaced out. So it does require a lot more finger independency and just staying in check with a pick like this one. But here we go, going into this 3-note section, kind of like a mini 3-note inverse section. Definitely going to require a lot more coordination compared to a lot of these other sections. I mean, these early game elements that they picks tend to be kind of coordination heavy. This one's just really showing it a lot, and it's definitely going to be hurting to be a lot more, given that they did win LN1. As we do get into this next session, we're just going to have to wait and see if any recovery is possible, or if the main method for the B is just going to be making sure to minimize the score lead that Mini Egg gets. But as we kind of end off this file, I mean, a lot of these elements being kind of tricky just because they can be a bit all over the place in terms of the releases. But we will be going into this next pick. I wonder if we'll see maybe LN3 or maybe Hybrid 3. I feel like Hybrid 3 might be a good pick, given that it's somewhat similar to like a density pick. It is a very speedy one, so it could work, but it looks like we're picking LN3, which I think is also a good pick, just given how we saw LN2 go. This one's definitely having a lot more of that kind of coordination aspect and that more technical side of accuracy, given that it is an LN tech pick. Exhausting out all these elements. I think a very good move, especially just given how Mini Egg has been handling these elements in just general, not really just a in-match specific thing. I mean, obviously that last score, 995, is still really good, even if it's a bit early on in the tournament. I mean, these picks are still difficult to hold good accuracy on. Potentially, we are seeing the next pick. I think to be mistaking that their pick is now, but it should be LN3. Just have to wait for these players to start up, and we'll kind of see how a pick like this one treats either of them. I think this is probably one of the also smarter picks, just because, I mean, given the score lead, I don't think we'll see the match end early. So both these players are going to get their chance to ban 2 picks once again. So probably going for these early LN picks very early on to make sure that Mini Egg is able to capitalize on them is definitely going to be very, very important. Here we go. I mean, the accuracies are still very close, but this isn't even a fraction of the technicality that we'll be seeing. So I'd imagine both these accuracies are going to go down. It just really depends how much they go down by, though. And a pick like this one's definitely being very bad if you are using Percy, just given that some of these releases are all over the place and you might release just a little bit too early. mean, we seem to be being able to stay rather consistent, but when they do drop a lot of accuracy, which I think it makes sense just given the amount of like Ellen releases that kind of come at once rather than just being more kind of consistent difficulty throughout. There you go. As we get into this next chorus, we're gonna see these patterns just get a little bit trickier, a little bit speedy, but not too speedy. You see a little bit of shields throughout this, which can make it a little bit more physical, but it's definitely nothing that either player can't handle. I mean, we see the B still staying around that 99.6 range. It's just a lot of those kind of bursts of difficulty really giving them a little bit of trouble when it does come to that act. And even within these slower sections, I mean, both players have to be just so careful, especially given that like it's an Ellen pick. Ellen picks typically, even in the slow sections, can be just so difficult. I mean, we see it here with these like shields and the shields being Ellens at the same time, just adding more layer of difficulty throughout this file. And as we do get into this final chorus, it's really just going to be a matter of consistency. I mean, if Mini Egg misses, potentially it could go over to the side of Dabi, but it would have to be a very dirty miss. Especially with just like how bursty this can seem. I mean, I wouldn't be too surprised if it's possible to happen, especially with just these like shields that come in and out. It's very easy to mess up a lot of these at once if you mess up only one of these notes. But a 993 on this Ellen pick, finishing off their picks and all the Ellen picks, getting himself a nice 40k lead. Definitely not gonna be giving them an early win once this next pick is done, but they do have that cushioning. I think we might see hybrid too. I think that one's a very risky pick though, given how these Ellens have gone. I mean, sure, these hybrids definitely require a different type of skill set to be able to play. I mean, even if you're proficient at Ellens and races, you could still have trouble playing some of these just because hybrids, they're their own skill set. I mean, there's a reason they're categorized outside of Rice and Ellens. And especially a hybrid like this one. I mean, Livium has been showing a lot of just very technical files throughout this tournament. This one being no exception either. So I do kind of worry seeing Dabi choose this one. I feel like maybe if they were going to go for a hybrid, I think hybrid 1 might have been a little bit of a better shot, just because there are some parts that are a little bit racy. But maybe they're just trying to see how these hybrids go. I mean, down 40k lead, there's definitely a lot to be done if they want to be able to secure that win. Starting us really odd. You do get just some of these dumps, very, very calm dumps. Obviously, these releases not really being any forgiving. This is really just going to be a matter of both accuracy and ability to play such tricky patterns. And here we go, as we get into this first course, you're going to start to see these dumps get a little bit more bursty. These releases still being equally as difficult. I mean, even at such like a low OG compared to a lot of like Ellen hybrids, this one's just still so difficult to maintain good accuracy on, just because of how awkward these patterns are, and especially because there's a sense of finger control needed when you kind of have to play these Ellens and you have to press a note right next to it, especially on the same hand. It's really easy to just get a miss or two because of that. I mean, potentially you panic and you accidentally let go of the Ellen and miss the note right next to it. As we kind of get into this section, being a little bit more forgiving, calming down just a little bit. I mean, the score lead definitely being the closest it's been in a while, but it really just depends if both players will stay consistent, especially with this next section that's going to be a continuation of what we just saw in that other chorus. I mean, Dabi definitely holding their own a little bit more, I guess maybe because of the inclusion of that rice, so maybe not as much of a release aspect, but even then, like the releases that are in here, they're so difficult, and especially with the introduction of these quads, it makes it so much easier just to mess up, and these trills as well, especially just because they're more one-handed. It adds another sense of technicality and difficulty. You just see this file continue to ramp up just a little bit. But as we finish this final chorus, I mean, there's only one section left where either player can mess up on. So we'll kind of have to wait and see. I mean, we haven't seen anyone mess up on it just yet, and we still won't see anyone mess up on it. Very solid scores from both players, and definitely a bit of a closer one when it comes to all these other picks, I think. But it is time for the second band phase. I'd imagine the B goes for maybe a hybrid 3. I feel like hybrid 3 is probably the most riskiest pick, or maybe Rice 2. I think either could suffice, especially just given how consistent Mini Egg has been, and especially just because of how strong their accuracy is. I mean, Rice 2 just being a huge consistency test, and hybrid 3 just being more of a Ellen biased hybrid. And we will see hybrid 3 get banned. I think a pretty good ban, all things considered, but the B's just gonna really have to stay consistent, and they're gonna have to hope that even if they lose, that score lead isn't that big. I honestly don't really know what Mini Egg could ban. I mean, maybe Rice 3, Rice 4. Oh, Rice 2. Interesting. I feel like Rice 2 might have been a bit of a safer one, especially given how Debi missed on Exile. I mean, both of these picks just being pretty raw skill biased, especially something like Cortex Charger. I mean, I guess Rice 2 can make sense given that we saw Cortex Charger ban. I mean, all that's left is just these like lower end raw skill picks, and more just focus on just being able to play accurately. I mean, with Rice 4, it's a little bit jacky, but you get those bursts, which make it just a little bit harder to maintain accuracy on. And Rice 4 just being very hard to maintain good accuracy in general, especially with just how awkward it is. But it is Mini Egg's pick. I imagine we see hybrid 1. I mean, maybe they dabble in the Rice. I mean, I think either could work. I mean, any of these picks are kind of fine. But I think hybrid 1 might benefit Mini Egg the most, just given that it is a hybrid. I mean, we see them dominate the Ellens, and even on something like hybrid 2, they perform really nicely on it. But we'll see. I mean, if we see a hybrid, it could be very, very risky for it to be, just given that like the score lead we see. But it looks like we'll be seeing Rice 3 potentially wanting to go for a more accuracy focused route, but it could potentially backfire depending on how accurate the B is on something like this one. I mean, there's a lot of transitioning with this Jack mixed pick, so it definitely could work out in either favor. And here we go, going into our Jack mixed pick. It is really early. It is very early on, and like I said earlier, we have these bursts of streams that come in and out. So the accuracies we see right now, it doesn't mean they'll stay the same. If anything, I do think they'll lower just a little bit. But hey, who knows? Maybe we see an increase. I mean, especially given that these streams, they feel rather comfortable, especially for a pick like this one. They're pretty flowy. So not the worst streams, especially in a pick that's focused around these jacks. But we see the accuracy start to get a lot more closer. I mean, to be losing a little bit of that lead that they could have potentially been having, seeing that many like did mess up just a little bit, but it is only a 0.10%, so anything can really change this lead in an instant. I mean, especially with just how awkward some of these streams can be at times, like with these kind of weird graces that we see. But I guess those streams may be affecting to be a little bit more, which is completely understandable on something like this one. I mean, when you kind of look into a jack pick, you kind of expect to be repeating the same motions continuously, or at least similar motions. But with a pick like this one, those motions have to swing back and forth, just depending on how this file goes. I mean, it's so easy to understand why the accuracies can be fluctuating on something like this one. I mean, I think if most people have seen Mini X performance on Jack House Cup 2, they are really strong when it comes to that core jack accuracy. But on a pick like this one, we don't see that really strong accuracy. I mean, of course, a 99.84 is still strong, all things considered, but it's not as strong as you might expect to see in a more conventional, straightforward jack pick like a 99.9 or 99.95. But both players staying consistent. Client switching, but there we go. Just a small lead coming from Maniac, but it's going to push it to that 53k lead. 53.5k lead, which is going to be very dangerous. Oh, 51.6k. I mean, still very dangerous. I mean, DeB has to win the next pick. It's in like 1,689 score if they want to even stand a chance to get into the final scoring. And even then, that's still such a high lead that's cushioned. I mean, there isn't even that much that can be done in just 2 picks. I mean, sure, it's possible, but given like how these other picks have gone, very risky. And it looks like we'll be seeing Rice 4, which I think is probably the best pick that DeB could have gone for. I mean, if we see Mini Egg mess up, there's more room for DeB to potentially snag an extra 1.6k. But we'll kind of have to see. I mean, this one's a lot more technical compared to all these other picks that we've been seeing, so it could potentially work out. It is a very different skill set from what we've been seeing in these other picks. I mean, Rice 1, obviously there's some technicality in those streams, but it's a stream pick. And with what we just saw, I mean, of course, there's those added streams throughout the jacks, but it's still jack focused. And I mean, we did see the accuracies drop a little bit on DeB's side and Mini Egg as well. So I guess there's still a little bit of concern going into a pick like this one, but we'll have to see. I mean, maybe it just comes down to a consistency battle. But it's way too early to tell, especially with just these singular streams. But Destiny's going to slowly start to pick up just a little bit. And we'll really start to see if these scores will fluctuate. I mean, it's way too early just because, I mean, with just how combo goes, the scores tend to fluctuate a lot more in this beginning. It really starts to settle in once we get into the later half of this file. But here we go, we're going to start to see more of these more tricky bursts throughout. And of course, these dumps to be added on. And these 3-note jacks. And it looks like those 3-note jacks are affecting DeB a lot more, which is a little bit surprising. But given that like you're playing 3 columns of jacks, it's not too far to see why they might have messed up. Especially when you have to go from 4 columns to 3 columns, it could be a little bit rough to transition into those kind of jacks. And at times can even just be uncomfortable. And we're just gonna have to see a miss from Mini Egg if DeB wants to stand a chance one more time. I mean, especially with just how technically scary this is, it's very hard to see a miss coming through, but it could happen. I think it's more so just who can hold the better accuracy in these types of patterns, because once again, this isn't really a very heavy raw skill pick. It's very light for a lot of these other picks. It just more so comes down to who's better at playing these very awkward patterns. but we'll see this final part where the density is going to pick up a little bit. Potentially we could see a miss, but I do think it is quite unlikely. But we will see. I mean, there's still the ending here with these 3-note sections, which I feel like would affect the B a little bit more. But it looks like Mini Egg will be taking this score lead and being able to end off the match before going into their final scoring, which can be a big sigh of relief. I mean, especially if nerves are a bit high. But that does unfortunately mean that the B will be moving down to the losers bracket in round of 16. So they still have that chance, and especially kind of like almost nearing the middle part, they still have an opportunity to show what they're made of, but Mini Egg will be advancing to round of 16 winners bracket. So congratulations to them, and we will see how things play out. But that will conclude this match. So I will be signing out. I've been your commentators, No, and thank you, Epsilon, for streaming.